Good morning, lovelies. ZoëTwoDots here with some more Pokemon Go goodness for you, and today it's time for a discussion. As is with most events and things like this, everyone gets very opinionated in the comments section, and I mean, fair game. Everyone experiences the game differently and everyone experiences these events differently, so let's have a little conversation about Clamperl Day, Feebas Day, Lotad Day, the research days in general, and if they're good or bad. And good or bad are some very, very broad generalizing terms, but let's kind of like break into the nitty gritty, share our thoughts and feelings, and see where these events can push forward in the future. So first of all, I'd like to start off by saying that I personally agree that these events do not really cater to the rural player. I believe they can be quite alienating and isolating and just a bit of a FOMO kind of experience for rural players. If you only have access to, 5 or less stops, 10 or less stops without having to drive an hour or more to get somewhere to have more stops, yeah, this would be frustrating as hell. I totally can understand that. I can empathize with that, and I can see your point of view. Personally, I've submitted feedback on this. I would love to see something for rural players where, there's basically an if stance in the code where if there are X number of Pokestops in X kilometer radius, then Pokestops refresh tasks. So that way you could combat, say if you've only got 5 Pokestops in an hour's drive, those Pokestops would refresh every half hour, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever it might be. And then for city players, there's clearly more than 5 stops in an hour's drive or whatever the parameters might be, so your stops do not refresh. In a sort of way to kind of balance the playing field and bring the rural players to have more of a chance of encounters, because for research days, it's all about getting research done. Once it's done, that box is ticked and you can't do it again. It's not like a community day where at least you can have incense and lures and walk around and there are kind of like increased spawns in general. These are purely Pokestop based, so I agree, I hear you guys, I understand, and I'm all for making it a better experience for you guys too, like I want that. If you have ideas as well for research for rural communities, chuck it down in the comments as well. Honestly, I think refreshing stops would be a fantastic first initiative, but if you've got a better idea, let me know. And don't make that idea just like, oh, put in more Pokestops, because if your area doesn't have something that is applicable to become a Pokestop, that's not going to fix the problem, because those would never have been put in the first place. Like if you haven't got a historical landmark or whatever it might be, a legitimate art form or Pokestop, that's not going to combat the issue. So for me, for comparing, I guess, Clamperl and Lotad together, honestly, the only similarity that I felt between these two events was the fact that we were completing research. Otherwise, on a general overall feel, these were so incredibly different. The only thing that was similar was ticking off quests to try and claim a shiny. The flow of the events, the time, the pacing, the general stress or excitement even were so completely different. So let's jump into first with Clamperl. So Clamperl was a 3-hour event. There was additionally a Stardust bonus, which was awesome. I love anytime we can get some sort of extra Stardust. And there was also a boost in spawns in general. So for both of these events, I played in the exact same spot, and definitely for Clamperl, there was just like a berserk amount of additional spawn points added. Crazy amounts of water type Pokemon popping up because that was part of the event, and good variety as well. There's an amazing variety of different water spawns to catch, to shiny check, besides just trying to get the tasks for Clamperl. And then with Lotad was a 9-hour event. There were no increased spawns, there was no XP or Stardust bonus, and the weather boost was just more of a change to the state or the effect on a Pokemon, as opposed to there being more spawns. At least in my experience, there weren't additional spawns summoned by the weather. It was just that the normal spawns that were there happened to be weather boosted Pokemon. Now, there's a few things like kind of like pros and cons in both of these lists already. I suppose a con for the 3-hour event is that because it is such a limited window, not everyone can participate. That is obviously the case for just about every event, that not everyone can always participate. These are generally kind of molded around, my assumption would be, whatever the data is that Niantic has for when the most players are most available. So with the 9-hour event, that covers way more time, more chance for people who have like maybe a day shift in the middle there, maybe they have to work in the evening, they can kind of work around that and still get some playtime in. People or parents with responsibilities for kids, or just, a social life and doing things like that. You don't necessarily have to play the entire 9 hours, but it is available for that whole time for you to dip in and out of and still participate. If you're hardcore, you can go the whole 9. you can go the whole 3, but at least with this additional, like 3 times the amount of time, there's more chance for more people to be involved, and I certainly heard that in the comments too. I think certainly a downside though to the Lotad day was having no increase in spawns. Even a 20% increase or 10% increase would have been good, just a couple more spawn points, just because of a lot of the research that I got was certainly around catch 5 weather boosted Pokemon. Okay, there's all these cast form here, these normal cast form that don't count as weather boosted because they're just the event spawns. There's a couple of little boosted things here, but I had to like kind of wait a bit longer, and actually I don't even know if I used incense during the Clamperl day at all really, unless it was just to kind of like summon more stuff, but I was relying heavily on my incense for Lotad day because I was just kind of like, I need more spawns, I need to catch more weather boosted stuff, I need more things to throw Nices at. They just felt like I kind of was spending a bit more time waiting before walking between each stop. That being said though, I didn't feel rushed because it was 9 hours. I wasn't, you know, waiting at that Pokestop like, oh, come on, like, can something please spawn? Like, I've only got 3 hours. Like, if it was those quests without the increased spawns and in a 3-hour time period, this event would have been a disaster because there was just kind of not enough to catch to keep the flow of what Clamperl Day had. Clamperl Day had really good flow, but a lot of pressure to be within that 3 hours. Like, you know, once I had my 3 shinies, I was like, okay, at least I've got the 3. Happy days, you know, I can kind of breathe a bit easier. With Lotad, I was kind of in the same boat. Again, wanting 3, but because of the 9-hour time bracket, I wasn't having that stress. Like, maybe if I got to the last hour and I hadn't got one yet, that would be incredibly unlucky, but probably until then, I wouldn't be feeling that stress. One of the downsides to the Clamperl day as well was that I pretty much like lost all my friends. I got separated from pretty much the entire group, I think, except for like a little cluster of us kind of kept trying to stay together. And that was certainly noticeable in Feebas Day. We lost everyone, I think, except for April. But just because of that 3-hour thing, certain people trashing certain quests or keeping certain quests or needing different, you know, to hit different achievements, like, oh, I need to battle in a raid, so I'm gonna go over there and do that. That made it very disjointed, where with Lotad, it was because of the pacing, just kind of walk together, complete tasks together. It wasn't as disjointing. We didn't, you know, have to lose and separate and things like that. So for Clamperl Day, I completed around 75 tasks. I received 10 shiny Clamperl, a shiny Magikarp, and a shiny Krabby. Now, certainly in terms of excitement, the shiny Krabby and the shiny Carp were fantastic. The Clamperls were kind of expected, I guess, and getting 10 almost felt excessive. But you know, I've got them, they're there, happy days. But certainly like tapping that Carp and tapping that Krabby and just having that like, I wasn't expecting this, like that reaction was fantastic. Whereas with Lotad, I completed 102 tasks. Could have done more, didn't feel the need to. And I received 6 shiny Lotad and 5 shiny cast forms. So probably, you know, the first cast form was exciting because it took me about an hour to find one. But after that, knowing that cast form was the only other shiny that I'd really encounter, it didn't get me too excited. The Lotads as well were a good little, like, I think the Lotads actually getting the shiny were pretty exciting because it was such a long event and doing so many quests. And having those periods where there's just like nothing. There's a shiny, it's like, oh yes, cool, got another one. But ultimately, Clamperl Day, 12 shinies total, concluding all the varieties, and Lotad Day, 11 shinies total, ending on the same result. Now, I didn't expect to get more just because it was a 9-hour event. I think that the fact that they are a similar result is good, because I feel like that is kind of like where the rate is sitting comfortably, where I feel like I'm kind of like right in the middle. I've got kind of like the average result for shinies. There are people that will get none or 1 or 3, and people that will get 23, because that's just kind of how data, you know, works. It's how probability, RNG, things like that. There's going to be a bell curve in the middle where the majority get kind of like this certain result, which is, you know, what the rate is, and then people that are the outliers that get, unfortunately, really unlucky with their RNG, and people that get insanely lucky with their RNG. It's all just chance. It's rolling a dice, rolling a dice, rolling dice. You got lucky, rolling a dice, you didn't get lucky. So I think if the rate was higher for Lotad, it would have been obscene. Just, we don't need that many shinies. Yes, it sucks if you don't get a shiny. I would, you know, ultimate dream is that everyone gets at least one, and then trading is a thing. Like, we have trading for that reason. Make some friends, trade some Pokemon, all that kind of jazz. But if everyone gets 30 shinies with minimal effort, it's not really exciting or challenging or, you know, part of the adventure and the hunt, in my mind anyway. Another thing to consider as well, a lot of people were saying like, oh, the Lotad rate was so low compared to Clamperl Day. And I'm really curious to find out, and I probably will never find out, but if the rate for Clamperl Day was higher, not just because it was a 3-hour event, not just because it was limited time, but because Clamperl's evolution is completely random in Pokemon Go. We don't have the Deep Sea Scale or Deep Sea Tooth to designate the evolution into Huntail or Gorbis. It's random. If you only got 3 shinies and all of them evolved into Huntail, like, you're going to be pretty frustrated. So I wonder if the rate for Clamperl was even tweaked up a little bit more just because of that random chance evolution, and to kind of like cut back a little bit of the frustration that people might experience if it's like, another one of this, like why? Maybe going forward the rate should be something that is closer to Lotad, because it's not a Pokemon, or maybe the future Pokemon won't be ones that have random evolutions, and this is more in line with what they think is applicable for the shiny rate. I don't know, just food for thought. Overall, I personally, again, I'm not a rural player, I'm not a city player. I don't have access, or I could drive 2 hours to Sydney if I wanted to, but I don't have immediate access to city play. Newcastle's good, we have a good amount of stops. I'm very lucky to have what I do have in my city when I drive 30 minutes into it. But I personally, with that style of play, I thoroughly enjoyed both of these events. Definitely the Clamperl Day was a bit more chaotic, but the hype was really good. The increased spawns were fantastic. Stardust bonus was fantastic, even though it wasn't, you know, consciously necessarily being like, this is the one thing I'm focusing on. Just the increase in the variety of spawns, the increase in variety of other potential shinies where you didn't know what you might get was fantastic. We all got something different as a shiny. I got a Krabby, Joel got a Krabby and a something else, and Axel got a Psyduck, and April got some different shinies too. It was a very, like, you know, mixed bag of different things, which was exciting. It's like, oh, which one did you get? It wasn't just cast form, cast form, cast form. I had another pink cast form, something cast form. Conversely, I really liked Lotad Day. It was a lot more laid back, a lot more relaxed. I could stream for you guys, film, do some quests. I went home, we went out and had lunch, played some more, did some more quests, got some more shinies, came home, edited a video, went out while it was exporting, walked the whole of my like local stops, got Alan out as well for some more shinies and things like that. So I liked both. I liked the hype of Clamperl, and I liked the relaxed nature of Lotad. So what do you guys think would be a good way to almost fuse these two events? I don't personally think that the shiny rate needs to go up necessarily. I think there needs to be work done to fix rural players or people that don't have access to as many stops so they can do more quests and get more chances at a shiny. I do like the increased spawns as well. Again, if it's going to be something that's a 9-hour event, maybe it doesn't need to be increased as much, but still an increase I think would benefit it greatly. And then again, just having that random chance shiny is, I think, more exciting, rather than just knowing it's only going to be cast form. Cast form's cute, it's still great to get them, happy days, but after you've got 1 or 2, it's not one that you can evolve, it's not one that you necessarily might want to trade unless you're helping a friend out, but when it's kind of like this random chance, I think that's more exciting. So what would be your suggestions to help improve these research days? Leave them in the comments down below. How would you fuse these two? I personally think going forward the 9-hour event is great, and I think it's fantastic that every single one of these research days has had some sort of improvement or change. Again, it's a new style of event, and they're testing the waters, they're listening to what we have to say, and they're amending it. We all were like, oh my god, Feebas Day, the rate was atrocious. The next time, Clamperl Day, better rates. Oh, Clamperl was so cool, but we just like, I can't play, I'm at work. Okay, Lotad has extended hours. So it's a constantly evolving event. It's evolved every single time we've had one. So I'm certainly looking forward to what April is going to have for its research day, essentially. We've kind of gotten into a flow where it's com day, and then the following weekend-ish is research day. So more than likely we're going to have another one of these in April. How would you like it to improve, evolve? Do you think it's perfect? Let me know. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new, please be sure to subscribe. Thank you to everyone who did leave a like, and if you'd like additional ways to support the channel, links for Patreon and merch are in the description too. I hope you guys have a wonderful morning, noon, night, whatever it is for you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.